Welcome, Joe. Welcome, everybody. I am so excited. So, oh my goodness, you guys hear me talking usually about CBD. You hear me talking about cryptocurrency. You hear me talking about so many different things like that. But today is going to be so different. I am excited. We're speaking about AI still, and we're going to talk about some new technology still. But I'm so excited to bring Joe Kavanaugh in with me today because I will tell you, we work as a team, and I'm so blown away and impressed by what he's done in his practice as a realtor. So I'm going to let you kind of introduce yourself. Tell me a little bit about your background.
Hi, Amy. Well, first of all, thank you very much for that wonderful introduction. And it is truly an honor to be your guest on this show. So thank you for that. My background. Okay, so I've been in real estate most of my adult life. Started out as an appraiser. Well, I should say I started out as an investor by buying a couple of businesses that involved some good real estate. Then that got me into real estate sales initially. That was, I used to live up in Maine, so that was the case up there. And then I evolved into real estate appraising. And then we made a move from Maine down to Charleston, South Carolina. And I thought, well, if I can make it here, we'll stay, because it's a beautiful city. And as it turns out, it did work out very well. And I became very successful very quickly here. So I was very proud of that. And yeah, so I've been doing that almost 30 years now in the Charleston area.
Wonderful. I lived in Savannah many years ago. So I got to tell you, I love the whole Southeast. It's so beautiful, and Charleston is absolutely gorgeous there. So I know working in real estate has got to be competitive. It's got to be, and if you guys have noticed, if you look at our names, you'll see kind of some letters in there, and they might not make sense to you, but as we talk a little bit, they'll make a little bit more sense. So you can see Joe and I both have an A in there as our first one. So we definitely connect based on personality science because we have a similar kind of personality. Mm-hmm. But I want to talk about when you started out. It takes a stronger personality, plus it takes a kind personality to grow that. But when you've come into bank, so a lot of you guys don't know about bank, it's an acronym, and we use a methodology that is personality science, but reverse engineered. So when you came into this methodology, what are some of the ways that it impacted your business?
Oh my God. I got to say, when we first heard about it, we were at a National Achievers Conference, and you know, it was coming off as a sales tool, and I've been a good salesman all my life, and you always listen to that with a little bit of how would you put it? Skepticism, I suppose. You say, okay, what are they trying to sell me now? Well, as it turns out, it was a great presentation. I thought my wife was really into it because it works in relationships as well. So that was the initial inauguration into it, I suppose, or taking the dip into finding out more. And I thought, well, I'll support her, and it is a sales tool. So if it'll help me, then that's fine. I'll go along with it. It took me a while. You know, it's tough to change, and I was already very successful. I was in the top 10% of realtors in my area, and we have over 8,000 realtors in our area. So I already knew I was good. I didn't think I needed anything else. But I must admit, I finally started to work it in. And I thought, I got to give this a go, see if it really does work, see if it stands up to the test of time. And my business skyrocketed. I can't lie. The proof is in the pudding. My conversion rate on appointments was 37% before I implemented bank methodology. And as a earmark on that, the industry average is about 22%. Mm-hmm. So I was already a top agent. Why did I need some more training? But I did start using it, and my numbers shot up from 37% to 86% in less than a year.
Wow, that is beyond amazing. I would just want to take a pause. Say those numbers again, because if you are a realtor or a broker, lean in. Or maybe you're just in sales and you want to learn more about this, lean in, because that is powerful. Say those numbers once again.
Yeah, it was near the top of the industry. Now, there are agents out there they'll say 100%, 80%, whatever, but that's rare. I was doing 37%. And I thought I was very successful. And all of a sudden it went up to 86%. And what got me, I'm not a guy that follows statistics. And once people learn about bank, they'll understand that by my code. But my wife said, you need to take a look at your numbers and see what's going on, because you're doing really well now. And that's what had me look at them. And honestly, I was kind of blown away. I knew I was doing well. And I kind of thought I was just on a good wave, as they say. So I was riding it out. And, real estate is an up and down business. So you just hang with it when you can. But it stayed consistent. And actually, the year after, I had moved it up to 91%. So just a tad higher. And I thought, wow, this is it. And so that's really the story on it. And it kept me at the top of my game. And I will say this, the third year I used it, one of the, what would you call it? One of the claims that they make, for lack of a better term, is that you can close more deals in less time. And I have a couple other businesses that I wanted to put some focus on. So my goal became, I figured I'd put this to the real test. I wanted to see if I could do the same amount of volume of real estate in less time. So I kept track of it. And in half the time, I not only did the same amount, I did more. I had a better year.
And you know what? I want to also take a pause on that, because I don't know if you guys realize what he just said. He not only has he increased his numbers, but he's now able to be home more. He's able to put more time into his businesses outside of real estate. He's got an amazing wife, so I'm sure you enjoy being home with her more and being able to enjoy life. So could you imagine going from, high 30-some% in your closure ratio to 91% and cutting that in half? I mean, that's just unreal. I mean, I think most of us, it's the quality of life past the dollars. I mean, it doesn't matter what your code is. I'm an action as well. And I love money. I'm not afraid to say it. There's some codes that doesn't drive them. It drives me. But I'll tell you, past that, I enjoy my family and friends. And so for me, and I also enjoy doing multiple businesses like you. For me, spending less time making more money is so powerful, no matter what your personality code is. And I want to come back a little bit more to your story, but I didn't share with you guys, and you're probably like, what are you talking about action? What are you talking about this nurturing? So like I said, BANK is an acronym. So it stands for Blueprint, Action, Knowledge, Nurturing. So I flipped those two, a little dyslexia there. But anyways, so when you have your different personalities, and you see, I'm sure you see in real estate, you have a lot of high actions. So your actions, they're a little more competitive. They speak a little louder like I do. They're a little more driven. They're a little more aggressive. And then when you're going more into your blueprints, and I'm sure when you're looking at, and you can break it down in your industry a little bit more, but probably when you're talking about the brokers, they're a little more on the making sure those contracts are correct. They're a little bit more systematic, where your realtor's like, let me close this deal, let me run around, let me have some fun. But your blueprints, they're going to be systematic. They're going to be structured. They're going to be a little more conservative. So you see me in my loud colors, you're never going to see a blueprint in that. You're going to see them very professional. You're going to see them showing up. And this is where we're going to go into a little bit more. And so I don't want to take too much. I'll let you break it down a little bit more. But if you were showing up for a blueprint, let's talk a little bit on that. How would you change showing up for me as an action to now you have a customer who is a client that you're showing them a home? How would you maybe step into showing them that home?
As a blueprint? You
Yeah.
mean they're a blueprint?
They're a blueprint, you're still in action.
Yeah, I've got several good examples of that. Me as an action, just like you, I'm like, let's get to the bottom line. This is exciting. Let's make a deal. Let's get that contract signed and get it ratified before somebody else grabs it. It's like go, go, go. A blueprint, no, they have to plan it out. They have to have a step-by-step. They, as you know, they tend to be risk adverse. So when you get all excited and you're like, look, this is a great deal. Let's get this home on the contract before somebody else grabs it. They're like, wait a minute, this just seems too easy. We need to sit back and think about this. And so, and I tell people when I do train it to groups, and I go into real estate companies all the time, I tell them as an action, and you see the B is my last, the blueprint is my last. I mean, they were my kryptonite. I realize now that I blew so many deals, talked myself into them signing the paper, and then I could talk myself right out of it, because once they signed, I thought, oh, they think I'm the greatest, so I'm going to keep talking about me, which is my personality style, right? And they didn't like that, so they would cancel the contract. Now that's one of the big changes I saw, was I started closing all these blueprint style people who were very conservative and easy to approach. You can't come at them loud and fast. So that's one big difference that I saw in my business. And I want to go back to what you said when we were summarizing about closing more sales in less time, and you nailed it. That's what I tell people when I go in to teach to other places or do a lunch and learn or whatever, is that it gave me back half my time, so I could spend more time with my wife, more time with my family, my grandchildren, and doing the things that we want to do, travel, things like that, and focus on some of my other businesses. So those have also elevated. So it's not just the one business that became very successful. All my businesses have come up as a result of that.
Yeah, yeah. And so we talked a little bit about the action. We talked a little bit about the blueprint. Now, let's talk a little bit on the nurturing. And even if you were to take it past, because your wife is a nurturer, that's her first code.
Right.
And I just want to talk about like kind of some findings that you had in your relationship. You guys had a strong, amazing relationship, but how had it changed when you as an action was like, hey, let's go, let's check out this place, you know, I want to take you to this amazing dinner at this fancy restaurant. And when you learn a little bit more about that nurturing personality, and I'll give you a couple of characters for you guys who don't know about it. So nurturing personality is the one who's making sure your cup is full. So you're going into a party, they're the one who always want to serve you. Can I get you another drink? They're the ones who, when you walk into a room, they're going to come running over and hug you, and they're literally like sunshine. They're the ones who just make you feel good. Like for me, if I'm going through something tough, I lean on my nurturing friends. But I'm going to have you talk about a little bit of differences. And I know this, we're going to spend a lot more time on real estate and kind of business, but let's talk a little bit on relationship and when your spouse is a different code and how you shifted and kind of strengthened some areas of your lives.
Absolutely. We do have a very good relationship, and yet there are things that we do that irritate each other. You know, she has little things that she does, and I'm thinking, why? And of course, she's like, I don't know why he does this stuff or doesn't do this stuff. Once we understood that, knowing that she's a high nurturer, I am not going to be one that just kind of snowball over everybody and just run them over. I have to stop and think and care for them, show them that I care and I genuinely want to help them, and be inclusive, include them in what we're doing. Instead of, it used to be like, hey, let's go out to this place. And I said, well, I don't know, it's not quite, look, it's where I want to go. It's, you know, it's a classy place. We're going to be seen by key people. That's my style. And she's like, no, I'd rather have a nice, quiet, romantic dinner somewhere. And you know, we've learned to compromise both ways. So, but now we know when we have those little differences or a little bit of friction comes up, it's, as we say, it's not personal, it's personality.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. That's so great. So, you know, we talked about the action now, we talked about the nurturing now. I want to go a little bit, or we talked about the nurturing and the blueprint. So let's talk a little bit about the knowledge. And I'll tell you, I have a knowledge son, so I'll just throw a little story out. You know, he's in sales and I always thought he was in action, but he was truly in knowledge. And after I got to know this methodology, I truly see it. But your knowledge is, they're always the smartest one in the room. And let me tell you, you are not going to sell a knowledge, are you? Like they close themselves. So they will call you out on things. If I was to pick this cup up to my son and say it's polka dotted, he would call me out on it because that's a lie. It's not polka dots. He would, you know, And so that's how a true knowledge is. And they want to know all the facts and figures. So say you're walking in and they might be your techie people, which in this methodology, we got some pretty cool stuff. So maybe this is a good time we can go into talking about some of the tools, because AI is the hot thing and we were kind of leading the way in this area. But how would you approach a knowledge? Like if you were to go and show a knowledge a home, or you were maybe wanting to pick up their business, what are some key things that you would kind of lead into?
Yeah, totally different. Like me as an action, I go in there and I just talk about all the accolades I have, how successful I am. I can get them top dollar. All they have to do is sign this paperwork and we've got great marketing and we'll get the job done and we'll get it done quick. Knowledge is like, whoa, wait a minute. I need to see proof. I need some data. And so what I've learned to do is adapt my presentation when I know I'm going in to see a knowledge. And as they'll learn when we take some of our training, that there is simple ways to figure out their personality type before you even meet them, which to me has been incredible breakthrough and invaluable tool for me. So what I do when I go in and I know I'm going to be dealing with a knowledge type person, I don't act all excited. I act pretty conservative and serious. And I lay out all this data for the last 3 years on what's going on at the market. It's national level, regional level, even what I call micro market data, what's going on in their neighborhood, how's the economy affecting their neighborhood, and who's their typical buyer going to be for that type of home. And I don't just spew data out. I have charts, I have graphs, and I have sources. And I hand it to them and I let them sit there and I let them read it. And those people will sit there and read every single piece of data that you give them. And you've built the rapport right, and you've got them when they read it over and they go, yep, that's what I found. Because they've researched it ahead of time. They're waiting for you to make a mistake so they can just say, no, you're not the person.
Yep. And that's so important. Being accurate. Don't fluff things up. In action, you could be like, oh my gosh, this is the best neighborhood. But the knowledge.
You need to exaggerate.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a makeup artist by trade. So we're always like, oh my God, that's so amazing. That's so beautiful. That's so, you use all these adjectives where that knowledge is like, give me the facts. Like, am I going to get a tight line with this eyeliner? Like I'm just using makeup here.
Sure.
But they don't care about how beautiful the color is if they can't do the action they want to do with it. And so it's very important to really give them accurate information and all the information they require, maybe a little extra,
Yeah, matter of fact, if they ask you a question and you're not sure of the answer, again, before bank, I would just come at them my style and I would say, well, I'm pretty sure it's this. Best I know it's this. You've lost them. The best answer for that is, Amy, I don't have that answer with me, but I'll research it and I'll get back to you. Would that be okay? And when you admit that you don't know something, they appreciate that.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. They will respect you so much more by being honest and saying, hey, I don't have those facts in front of me. I don't have that exact information. Let me go to the expert that will have the facts in that specific, whatever the question may be. And that is so important.
Very true.
I know I brought up a little teaser about some AI, and we're not going to show you here. So if you guys want to learn a little bit more, I think you're going to have to join us on Monday, but we'll talk about it a little bit. So we talked about these different codes and you're like, okay, great. But how am I going to get that? How am I going to learn it so quick? Maybe you're like an action like Joe and I, you're like, you know what? I don't have time to learn something where I could just scan. And that's something that you learn over time. But what if we told you there's an AI tool that in 90 seconds, you can code your prospect? There's an AI tool that you can go on LinkedIn and by a click of a button, you can know who you're speaking to. So maybe you're a managing broker and maybe you're looking at bringing somebody new into your team. Are they going to be a right fit for your team? What if you check out their LinkedIn? So let's go a little bit on maybe how the AI has impacted your business as well.
Oh yeah, no problem. When I get an appointment with somebody, and any good realtor will know this, that you check them out on social media so you can kind of figure out who they are and what they like and what's their lifestyle sort of thing. The beauty of our AI is I can take any of their social media, any kind of text, and typically there's some interaction, either email or texting prior to our meeting. So I can take those texts and put them into our AI, and with a click of a button in nanoseconds, it'll spit out the personality code. So it makes it so easy when you go into that appointment, you already have a very good idea of what type of personality that you're probably dealing with. And I can, as I said earlier, I can alter my presentation to suit the way they're comfortable with, instead of me just coming at them in my style.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's the difference. That increases your chances up to 300%, as you know.
Yeah, and that's a big wow factor when you think about it. Like, who wouldn't like to increase their business by 50%, 100%? You're like, holy cow! But up to 300%, that's pretty powerful and pretty life-changing.
Exactly. And the beauty of that is now, if they, let's say we're corresponding back and forth, because that happens several times, especially in our market, we have out-of-state owners. When I do that, I run their text or their email through the AI. It'll tell me what the code is that it was spoken in. And then what I do is I craft a response and I can code it to the same personality code. So when they get that message, they're going to be like, oh, this guy, he's like me. Like if it's an action to an action, it's going to be a very brief, right to the point statement. You're not going to give them a whole itinerary. Whereas it's a blueprint, you might send them a first step is this. And then once we get that down, we'll move on to the second step. So you can bullet point things. They're going to love that. So there's a difference in personality types.
Yeah, and I love that with our AI, they coded empathy into it. So by that, they use the keywords that target that empathy on each code. So it was so funny. So I know we're talking real estate, but I'm just going to share a little bit, for those of you that know me, my true background was more in the entertainment industry and as a makeup artist. And I get PR packages. And I started to, after I got into this, I don't know why I didn't start right off the bat, running a lot of what I would write for different companies about their products. And as you see on my code, I'm a blueprint last. And I started decoding all these, and I'm like, why the heck is my writing style when it comes to PR packages in a blueprint? And I realized that they give you a guideline. You have to say X, Y, and Z in your post, to keep them from being sued. Basically, you have compliances and you have to follow a certain structure. Well, if you think about it, the guidelines that you're giving us are probably from their attorneys. They're going to be from the people who are going to be more blueprint. And as an action, I hate to say this, I would copy and paste the verbiage that I had to use that was, on point to keep me legally in check to what I needed to say about a product. And so I found that now that I've changed it up and I'm more conscious of how can I help this company? Because I'm grateful. If you guys want to send me products, love it. I will never turn it down. But I started to just throwing it out there. I started to go, okay, let me think about this and I know today's about real estate and I'm going a different direction in a second, but I started to think about the products when I'm writing, and not just the fun and the fluff, but also getting into a little bit more, and this can be applied in real estate and writing, and we'll shift it back over to writing, your post for a house that's maybe listing and writing your listings. But I started to think about, okay, the actions are first. They are quick to buy, the grab. So you get that fluff and the fun up there, but then breaking it down to giving the feeling of it. So you're touching that nurturing. How does it make you feel? How is it affecting the environment? Is it good ingredients that are going to be a benefit? Then I started to think about, the different areas where somebody might be more into the science of it. And then I started to think about, is this cost effective? You might have a $450 YSL cream, and that might seem crazy to Blueprint, but if they understand they need such a little amount, and you start breaking down the benefits, and it's cost effective and it's not risk adverse, they might step into that $450 YSL, moisturizer, where before I was only showing, look at the beautiful gold packaging, look at the, the texture, it's made with saffron and all that. I was AKing on them. I was saying what's important to me. First, the excitement of the packaging and the texture. And then next I went into the science. Okay. If they're not my personality, they're not going to care about that. So making sure that I wrap in the other two into it. So now that I threw up all over you guys on that, let's shift back. How does it relate when you're posting a listing? How do you, think about your postings now?
Oh, yeah. What I do is in our office, we have a staff that does a lot of support work for us. And there's one girl in there in particular who puts what we call the MLS description of the property. It tells you all the features and how nice the home is and how great the neighborhood is and all that. And so we trained them to understand bank to a degree. Now, I'm not going to lie, they still do their own thing. They don't take the time to analyze it. And so every time I'm putting a listing out there, I always tell the girls that once you have it ready as a final draft, send it to me so I can bankify it. And what I do is I just copy that whole script, I put it into the AI and I decode it. And I will say probably 8 times out of 10, it's either like all nurturing, you're going to love this home and it's got a beautiful this and a beautiful that, or it's action. Like, great deal is, move fast before it's gone, that sort of thing. But as they tell us, and we teach them the training, that there's other people out there. You've got your blueprint type people who like to analyze things and think about it and look them over, and before they make a rash decision. And you've got your knowledge people who they want to know the science and the systems in the home, what's the latest tech in features that it has, and so on. So what I do is you can work with our AI to balance out the amount of each code. And so I rewrite the script a few times until I get it just right, or as well as you can. You can never get it perfect, or it's very difficult to. And then I send it back to them and say, okay, you can publish this now. So that when it goes out on the internet, which all the websites pick up our information, Zillow and Realtor.com and all those, they don't write those reports. They just copy what we put in the MLS. So now it's appealing to not just your Susie Homemaker or your sports star or something like that, or somebody that's just like on the go all the time. It's also going to appeal to your engineers and your computer analysts and your businessmen who need a good system in place and whatnot. So it just broadens the audience to appeal to your home. Now, I will say this, with COVID the last few years, everybody knows we had a crazy market and it was just multiple offers and people weren't even thinking, but the market shifted back again. And I just saw a stat the other day where they estimate 60% of the agents that are currently in the business will be out of the business in 2 years.
Yeah, and I'm just going to touch on this real quick, because I think what you just said is so important. So maybe you guys are in sales, maybe you're in real estate, or maybe you're just listening in and you're not in sales or real estate. But what's getting ready to roll out, and people don't realize, is the 3rd and 4th quarter of this year, which we're coming close to that 3rd quarter, there's going to begin to be mass layoffs. We are in a financial wealth shift throughout globally, not just here in America, but globally. And learning this methodology can keep you ahead of the game. Like, you're hearing so much on AI, you're hearing so much on how things are changing. And if you don't change with these times, you're going to be left behind. So at the end of the day, and as much as I love AI, as much as I love technology, I love it, but it really comes down to personality. So if you're able to shift, no matter what you do, you want to stay on these trends if you're in business, but no matter what you do, the more you can connect with another person, the more you can make them feel seen and heard and acknowledged, you're going to build those relationships. And I think coming soon as this new, and I'm not in real estate, so I'll let you talk more on the real estate side, but we are at a top of a bubble again. You know, I think we're, you know, some people are saying it's going to be worse than 2008. So, you know, this is so important when you say then.
Okay, first of all, let me just correct you if I may, Amy.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't want to scare people. It is not actually a bubble. It will never be worse than 2008. Believe me, I lived through that. I had 19 properties when that market hit, so I know firsthand how bad that was. There are too many checks and balances in now. There's so many difference today. Nobody had equity in their home back then. Today, the average home has 60% equity in it. So there's a large cushion there. And but I'll tell you the way the market is shifting. For example, the last couple of years, as long as you've got a listing, that's a guaranteed paycheck because it'd be sold the next day. And if that deal didn't work out, there's 3 people waiting to take its place. So it's guaranteed. I was just in my office the other day and I happened to see an agent I hadn't seen in a while. And he's furiously looking on the computer. And I said, "What you up to?" And he says, "I'm looking for some buyers for my listings." I said, "Wait a minute, what? Shouldn't you be looking for listings? That's where the guaranteed paycheck is." And he says, "I've got 4 listings out there that have been sitting for a couple of months." I haven't heard that in 5 years. Because everything, especially in our market, has been going off the shelves in a day or two. So there's a shift right there. Now that is a traditional market. I've been in this business 35 years. Traditionally, a home go on the market, it could take 4 to 6 months to sell. It might get looked at by several people. Your buyers will look at anywhere from 5 to 20 homes before they decide, and they have time to think about putting an offer in. And then COVID came and said you didn't have time to think. It was all emotion. It was either get in there. It's like a lottery. You know, we got to take our chances. Now it's come back to a real market. The appreciation rates have slowed down. They are not dropping here in Charleston. I hear some markets are dropping, but there's also some confusion on that without getting off topic. The press likes to spin negative on it. It's not really dropping. It's correcting. It's just leveling out.
Yeah.
And because what happened was, if we have time, when it did really start to level out, sellers weren't hearing that. It's like, no, the market's been great. So we're going to list higher because we know the value is going up. And that was going on for a while and it became this big spread. And all of a sudden the houses started sitting and here's the value staying level. And now with the sellers finally listen to us and say, you know, you were right. So we got to bring the price down. So the press harps on that and says, oh, prices are falling. Well, prices may be falling, but as an appraisal term, the value of the home is what's key, and the value is not falling. Matter of fact, I just was at a meeting Wednesday, and they're saying that we're not going to see any kind of a correction as far as the values go, and we may not see it for the next generation. So if you, not to be selling real estate, but if you're ever getting into it, now's the time.
Oh yeah, I 100% agree with you on that. I know you're the expert, but
I'm sorry, I just get off on the real estate part.
No, and it's so funny that you say all that because I saw somebody I know list a condo that they bought in 2017 for, you know, just shy of 700,000. They listed it for just shy of 1.5 from 2017 to 2000 or to where we are right now in 23. And I was like, you know, I saw things cooling down and I didn't say nothing. And then I saw it drop 100,000. Now I see it off the market. And I think that people want to be in this unrealistic number still, for sure. That I definitely think that's a great point that you brought up there.
Well, thank you. And another thing that's happening now too, again, talking more real estate, is we have a huge shortage of inventory. People aren't putting their homes on the market. And the real reason that that's happening is most homeowners now have an interest rate in the 2s or maybe the 3s. And their resistance is, why should I'd like to sell my house, but why should I give up a 2 3/4% mortgage rate when I have to turn around and pay a 6, 6.5, even 7% rate in my next home? Now we have ways to combat that, but That's the big resistance right now. And we have a huge backlog of buyers. But buyers are smart today. You've got to have your home priced right. Again, knowing people's personality, it's a lot easier to have that discussion with them and to make them understand it because you're relating to them. And as you touched on earlier, and I don't know if you said the exact phrase, but sales is not a numbers game. It's a personality, a relationship game. So you've got to gain the trust of those people. And the easiest way to do them is to understand them and communicate with them the way they want.
I think that's so important. That's so excellent how you put it. And in sales in general, I'm not even going to just say real estate. In sales in general, you're told, go out, fish. You're told, go out, it's a numbers game. Go out and just beat down every door. A door will open. And first of all, that's just icky. It doesn't feel good to you, and it doesn't feel good to the other person. And when you're able to, stay in ethics, like, you're not going to change who you are as a core, but you're going to show them a level of respect by being able to mirror their values. So you aren't changing and you're not expecting them to change. But when you can say, okay, I understand that, we'll just use a nurturing. You're a nurturing that's buying this home, and I'm able to go, I don't need to show you all the flash of the neighborhood, but maybe I need to respect that you're a mother, and that maybe I need to spend a little more time taking you around, showing you the benefits for your children versus just what I care about, aesthetically.
Yep.
So that's what we mean by shifting and knowing their code. It's not about tricking somebody. It's about respecting their values. And I think that's so important in sales, is to have that level of respect and integrity.
And that's what I tell all my clients now when I decode them, is I say, I want to know what's important to you. What do you value? Not what I might think is important to you or make assumptions about you. And that shows them total respect. And what that does is that elevates your credibility. It just skyrockets. And they're like, yeah, you understand me. And again, with that nurturing person, you're going to say, look, this is a great neighborhood for your children. There's children around here about the same age. Of course, you can do your background research. A lot of good agents do that anyway. Of course, the school district's already determined. They got great hiking trails, the community pool. They have a lot of social functions going on, that sort of thing. And that person doesn't need to know you got the highest tech heat and air system, and this place is HER rated, and that, or HERS rated, I should say. Things like that. They're like, I don't care. I just want to know that it's going to be a great place to bring my children up.
Yeah. And you know what, like when I bought my home, my realtor had brought me had a beautiful plan delivered, right? And so this is where you can take it even up a step further. Like, if you work with somebody and they've treated you good, you want to continue to work with them and you want to continue to send them business. I have a realtor who helped me find a condo that I was just renting, and she doesn't normally do rentals because it doesn't make that much money. But she cared enough to work with somebody to the point till they bought a home versus just, going, I'm only after the bigger paycheck. But now that you understand this, a plant might not mean anything to somebody, but maybe a nice bottle of wine would. So wouldn't you say this has kind of helped shift even a closing gift for your client? Or
absolutely. I got a perfect example of that. I had this younger couple. Well, I say younger couple. She's 30, he's 42, and they had twin 6-year-old boys. And they wanted a house. They couldn't afford the beach, but they wanted to be within an easy commute to go to the beach. So I coded them, even the boys, because you can do that. And they're all high action people. So I listened to them, and they like the beach and that sort of thing. I asked if they like surfing, and she's, yeah, the boys are getting into surfing and this sort of thing. And of course, I wasn't going to buy them surfboards, but I thought about it. I said, you know what? I'll bet you a family pass to the aquarium might be a good idea, because that's sea related, right? That was 4 years ago. One of my first clients went, after I understood bank, that girl still sends me referrals. And she tells me, oh my God, he's the greatest guy. He got us this gift. It was like the best present we ever got. She kept calling me and thanking me. And every time they went to the aquarium, she'd tell me, says, oh, we went to the aquarium today. Here's some pictures. We had a great time. Thank you so much. And all it was I understood them. So there are other methodologies where you can do that, but this has been, it's a no-brainer. I mean, you simply ask them, who are you? And in less than 90 seconds, they tell you. People compare it to what DISC and all the others, but those take forever. And they're not, you can't do that in 5 minutes when you first meet a person.
Yeah, you're right. They're so complicated in a lot of ways, like, you know, and I'm going to go back to the actions like we are. We just want like quick, like move on. Like, unless somebody is that knowledge, are they going to sit down and spend the time to do all the questions? And some of those tests, they're like 45 minutes long. I'm sorry. Like I'm probably going to get mine wrong because I'm just going to click all the way through or check all the way through.
I didn't know what some of the questions were asking me and what the answer was for. So,
yeah.
But and there, you know, like, for example, there's a lot of people out there that know and like this. Well, this is great for what it was invented for in HR. And it's a great tool for that. But this is, especially in sales, when you're, as an action, say on the fly, and you meet somebody and you want to connect with them, simplest way to do it and very reliable.
And you can make it fun. Like, I'll tell you what, and this goes back to personality. So obviously you would want to, if you're in business and you're going to a professional area, share it properly. But I'll tell you, because I'm a little extra, I was shopping in a store and I was just like, I tossed these cards on the counter and I tell the cashier to, you know, crack her code and just having fun with her. And pretty soon I had everybody in the entire boutique leaning over the counter wanting to crack their code because it was a game. It was fun. It was a few seconds, like, cool, I can get this. And we didn't even mention your client can get a really cool report telling them about them. And when they read it, everyone I see, I tell them, go to your phone, open it up, read your report. And they start, and then you see their eyes get big. Oh, this is me. It's every time.
I had a client who called me up and said, Joe, you know what we did? We made a date of it. They took each other's report and read them to each other. And they had a whole date over that. And they says, and we learned some interesting stuff about each other.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll tell you how I picked up a client pretty easily is my wife and I were out at a landscape place and we were looking for certain flowers and bushes and whatnot. And a girl was offering to help us. And she started getting into the scientific names of the plants and the technicality and all that. And I says, hey, would you do me a favor? Says, would you sort these cards and, you know, the script that we teach? And so she did, and turned out she was very high in knowledge and blueprint. And I says, interesting. And she was amazed by it, so much so that she found out, she asked what we do for a living. And I told her, as a real estate, she says, I was thinking of getting a house and I think you'd be the perfect agent for me because you know who I am. I ended up selling her a $380,000 home.
Yeah, that's so powerful. And that shows the power of just having fun with people and getting to know them. Yeah.
Connecting. It's very simple. And I bring them, I always have the cards on me wherever I go. The ladies at I go to Whole Foods a lot. I've coded all them. And anytime somebody asks me what I do, I said, well, you know what? It's easier to show you than tell you. I was at a chamber event about a month ago, and a couple of guys, we got talking, and I did that. I said, can I show you? And they said, sure. So I brought out the cards, and I could see this guy. There was 4 of us standing around a little circle, right? And I saw this guy outside of our circle, and he's kind of like, what are they doing? You know? And as soon after I left those 4 guys or 3 guys, he cornered me. And he says, hey, I saw you were doing something pretty interesting over there. Were those magic cards? I said, yeah, pretty much. So I cracked his code, and then he got interested. And at another event I went to, somebody asked me what I do. We're going around saying that. And I said, well, it's easier to show you. And I asked permission, because you should do that in a network group. And they said, sure. So I cracked this one guy code. Next thing you know, they all wanted their codes cracked. And that led to a lunch and learn.
Oh, yeah, that's awesome. And that's a great way to bring your business, whether you're in real estate or any other business, into a company where you can help them grow as a team and
Absolutely.
even work better as teammates together. You
Mhm.
know, when you're able to understand the team that you're working with, you know where their strengths lie and maybe where their weaknesses are. And with this, you learn how to grow. So you might start as your code really big gaps. Like I started in my code in a massive gap. My first three were so close and my blueprint was like almost non-existent.
Mhm.
But from being part of this team, from learning the methodology, from, you know, using some emotional intelligence, and I was able to raise up that level. And now I can speak much better to a blueprint and I can have a respect for what they bring to the table.
And Amy, you just touched on it as far as going into a company and showing them how it can improve them. The company I work for, owned by an individual, he's as it turned out to be a friend of mine, ended up being a friend of mine. And he saw what my numbers were doing. And he said, he asked me one day, he says, Joe, you're all of a sudden knocking it out of the park. What's changed? So I told him about it. And he was very resistant at first to try anything new. He was sold on the methods he had because it's a successful company. But after a while, he finally called my wife and I in because Cindy and I trained it together. And he says, I think it's time we might try to bring you in and train some of the agents for me. So we ended up signing a year contract to train the agents at the company. And on my LinkedIn page, people can go and look at it. He put a video testimonial on there that after they brought us in less than a year, the company's conversion rate went from 32% to 62%. It doubled.
Wow. Wow.
And year over year, the gross revenue went up $50 million.
Wow, that really is amazing and powerful. So hey, so some of you guys might be listening and going, cool, like that you're talking about business, but you know what? I'm on the East Coast, the Southeast Coast, and you know what? I just need a new home. Like maybe you're like those other people living a little bit inland, and you're like, you know what? I'm ready for that beachfront home. How would somebody find you? How would they work with you as a realtor?
Oh, the easiest way, well, my cell phone is 843-345-8506, and I answer that anytime I can, or I'll get right back to you. Couple of ways you can reach me in the real estate. It's joe@mattoneillteam.com. And as you know, we also do our coaching and training and mentoring. And if you're more interested in that aspect of it, and let's face it, if you're in this area, we're looking to grow our team all the time, get quality people. You can email me at candjcoaching@gmail. So it's C short for Cindy, AND, short for Joe, coaching@gmail. And yeah, and if they just want to know more and they're curious about it, we have a webinar coming up Monday night that's geared towards real estate. And then they can get to see what it is basically about. And and the way I would put it, and of course it's up to you, is if that interests them and they want to take it further, there's different trainings that you can get into, and you can go as light or as heavy as you want.
Absolutely. So what I'm going to do when this is over is I'm going to drop a link. So all of you guys that want to join in on Monday, there's two times, and I believe it's 5 o'clock, no, 6 o'clock Eastern, right?
Right.
And 8:30 Eastern.
8:30. Yes.
So, and that's going to be this Monday. So today is Saturday. We are going to have some more follow-ups later, but you don't want to be on the late ones. You want to join us now. So make plans, wipe out your calendar for Monday evening, and that's East Coast time. I will drop the link so that way you guys can join us. And it's going to be heavy real estate on this call. We do lots of trainings that go in different things. So whether you're looking at growing your relationship with your family, your spouse, coworkers, whether you're looking to grow your sales, or whether you're just wanting to grow in any area of your life, we've got trainings for you. And if you want to step in and maybe you're not a realtor, maybe you're not a broker, and you want to just learn a little bit, I think this is still going to be a great way for somebody who's in sales to kind of come in and then join the right class or webinar that fits them afterwards. So I'll drop that down below, and then I'm gonna have Joe go ahead and send me the link for his real estate. and I'll drop that down below. So if you're looking at buying a house, you're looking at maybe relocating, because I feel like your area right now is one of the hottest areas for growth, isn't it?
We are number 6 as far as growing in the country, but according to Condé Nast magazine, we've been the #1 tourist destination in the world for 8 years running.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
I say that, but it's like a double-edged sword. Like, yeah, we love the area, but we don't want 10 million people here either. But I mean, let's
Come
face it,
visit, but yeah.
I came here originally and thought I'd give it a year and see how it goes. And I tell people so far so good. It's been 29 years.
I'll tell you, it's so beautiful. It's been a lot of years since I've been out there visiting, but I absolutely love Charleston. It's just such a beautiful, beautiful area.
And it's even changed and improved so much since you've been here. It just
Oh yeah.
continues to grow, and it's just a beauty. It's got everything, anything you want to do. It's beautiful. So come on and give me a call. I'll help you get here.
Excellent. I want to thank you so much for joining me, Joe, today. And then I look forward to seeing all of you guys on Monday. Make sure you are filling it up, knocking the class out. There's, only so many spots that are going to be open. So hopefully you're going to be one grabbing your spot. So make sure you click the links down below if you're looking for a house, or if you're wanting to join us on Monday. It's going to be a powerful, powerful time of learning and also networking, getting to know some people. I'm sure there's I don't know, maybe you'll have some breakout rooms, or I don't know what your plans are on that one, but I think it's a great way to connect with others as well.
Yeah, the main thing is to have fun and learn at the same time. And it's only an hour out of your time. So what I tell people is it's just an hour. You're bound to pick up some tips. And if you don't feel it's for you, then fine. Thank you for attending. And if it is for you, then yeah, you got great options ahead of you, and it can only elevate your game. So
thank you again so much. I appreciate everything. And I want to wish all of you guys a fabulous day.